And there we go.
Hey, sorry about last week, gang. Or did you do a podcast without me?
No, I did not do a podcast without you.
Okay, so welcome to Suzilla at Suzie Health Solutions. Yes, we did miss last week because we were just that busy.
And yeah, it happens. It happens rarely because we're well over, I think, 100, close to 109 now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been very good about doing this weekly, and we simply did not have time last Thursday. And why is that, you may ask?
Can't remember why.
Because it was open enrollment, and we were working from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or later, and then
we had a disaster float in there.
We had a flat tire.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. Our kid did, but it all kind of even if we didn't, it would have been really hard to squeeze one in.
Yeah. So today, the title is "Did You Notice?"
I never noticed anything this time of year,
and this is why I wanted to bring it up because we're going to talk about observation.
Okay, how observational of you?
Yeah, it's because when we get in a rut, it's one of the first things that shuts down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to observe, you don't want to sense. You just want to go down one particular direction.
Is it a rut or is it just defense mechanism and you're just kind of?
It's a rut.
Okay.
And getting in a rut is a defense mechanism.
Okay.
Because it's that comfortable hole in the ground.
Okay. So tell me more.
Well, it's if you want to climb out of that hole, you got to start turning on your senses, start observing things, start seeing changes that go around.
Mm-hmm. So you're not a very ruddy kind of guy.
No. We actually did one with the Chelan.
Chelan what?
The Chelan tour for the Washington Healthplanfinder.
Oh, yeah. Up in Chelan.
Up in Chelan. They had this wonderful... It's actually less than a week ago.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Told you, I am...
It's
all a big blur.
It is all a big blur. But they had this wonderful table laid out of all these different items for a person to come by and select.
Yeah, some fun swag.
And a gal stepped by, did a quick glance, and they picked up one item.
Yeah. And
it was the rainbow sticker.
Yes.
And that's an example of, okay, this is, what products are you offering? What services are you offering that are being picked up?
Okay. I think I see what you're saying.
And if you're just callous about it, just kind of going about it, it's like you don't notice what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I noticed that they pick up for us is, and you mentioned it strangely, was explaining policies.
Yes, got to go into details.
You got to go into the details, and that's something that the people come back time and time again to get updates and information.
Mm-hmm.
It's why the PEB employees from the state,
because they're not getting the information they need from the resources they're supposed to use.
Yes, because to be fair, they have one office that opens in Olympia at 8 a.m.
They don't take walk-ins.
And no, they don't have appointments.
No, there are no appointments. They don't do walk-ins. You can't. It's very difficult to call them. Mm-hmm. And they really have they have very little contact information, and the website is incredibly difficult to navigate. Mm-hmm. The only reason I know how to navigate is because I've done it a few times.
Yeah.
Whereas your average person does it once and goes, and moves on.
However, the Healthcare Authority is the largest procurer of health insurance in the state of Washington.
Oh, no question about it. But it's also run by bean counters who don't know how to put together a usable website to save their lives.
Yes. So one of the things we had to do this year was we had to say, this is open enrollment. This is for people that are selected in plans. This is not for retirement plans.
Yeah, that didn't stop everybody.
No, it didn't stop. And then there were some people because what we do is, some people had this notion that, it's like accounting during tax season. No, because we actually deal with life and death.
Well,
people who deal with medication that they have to take on a regular basis, if they don't get it, that's life and death. Accountants aren't life and death.
I think that you're kind of conflating the analogy there. Yes, accountancy is not life and death, but the level of busy is equitable.
You don't have the desperation to get in. You don't have people lying to accountants to get into their door.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Even if it's like the 14th and it's like, well, everyone knows the
Then
deadline.
they can file extension. Yeah, they dread it. They put it off to the last minute.
Yeah.
That's where we get similar. A lot of people dread it. They put it off to the last minute. But then we also see that same group start to, oh yeah, we'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, we want to do that. Oh hey, could you explain on how this? Do I get massages with this PED plan? We see that rather quickly.
One thing I do see is with people who are the most complicated and are most confused are the ones that put it off the longest. The ones that need the most help and need the most time are the ones that do it in the very, very last minute. And that's fear. Well,
it's fear that keeps them away, and fear that keeps them from looking at it early, so they can set a good decision. They're in a rut.
I don't know if they're in a rut of. Well, yeah, I guess maybe they have a tendency to keep what they've got and complain about it.
And we actually had another insurance company, a major owner, name actually in the agency. Call us up and it's like, oh yeah, I know you guys are busy, and it's like,
you have no idea how busy we are.
It's like, yeah, you have no idea what we go through, because to be fair, he's been in the business since the 90s.
Yeah, but he doesn't do what we do. He does a different thing that we do.
He does it at a different level, a different thing, and he's not active in the industry, because we pivoted this year hard.
We did. Now, one thing that's also true is traditionally for property insurance, this is a quiet time of the year.
Yeah.
Not for health. It's that's why if you do health and property, you're just busy all year.
Yeah, and that's what we're gearing up to do. Is we're gearing up to bring that same excitement of an open enrollment year round.
Exactly.
And because we want the explanations to the clients.
We want to make sure that we give our clients the attention that they need, and give them the information that they need to make a good informed decision. That should not be surprising. It should not be outside the norm.
It is.
I know that's what bothers me a lot.
Because we have a lot of people there's a population that call up. It's usually last minute, or they have this assumption, I need a quote.
Yeah. You can't just do a quote. What happened for health insurance? It is so complicated. It's so much more annoying to try and just get a quote for somebody. What happens is, if you're using the systems we use, if we're going to make a change, we have to go in, we have to do an edit, we have to run it all the way through, and then we see what the numbers are. And then, what happens if I do this? I have to go back and make the edit and go back all the way through. It's not like you're not just testing something, you're running an application each time.
Yeah.
It's not a quick process, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
and that's why we ask a lot of questions before we start.
All insurance should be that way. Is it's all about observation on the way in.
Now, property. Now, I don't know much about property insurance, but it seems like is it easier to do quotes for property to change benefits?
You still have to go through.
You still go through steps, but don't you have to? You can just change some of the numbers, and it's a little more. It's a little more expedient. Yes.
Yeah.
No, not so expedient for me.
Yeah. It's you got it. It's you do insurance is a process.
Yes, of course it is.
Most people don't understand that.
That's because they're not in the middle of it.
And despite its use, you got a section where you do your fact finding, your information, your needs analysis.
Right.
Folks want to move beyond that quickly.
It's because they don't like to analyze their own needs.
Yeah, but that's part of the entire process, is that needs analysis.
One of the things I run into with the needs analysis is I'm actually restricted with Medicare. I can't ask somebody about their health conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I can ask about their prescriptions, which gives me an amazing insight, partly because I've got 20 years as a pharmacy tech and I know what a lot of these medications are prescribed for.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not allowed to ask about health conditions because that can lead to cherry picking.
Yes, but like I said, you need to do that. Every business model that is constructed to take care of people and do service is you got to go through that initial observation.
Mm-hmm. And some of it's just kind of having a conversation. Now, if people volunteer what's going on, and then I don't have a problem with that, but I cannot ask specifically.
Yes. However, like I said, it's got to occur.
Yeah.
And if someone blocks it and says, "Hey, I don't want to give it," a classic one with autos, is I don't want to give you my license.
Well, then there's not much a person can do about it.
But that is a they're trying to do themselves a disservice.
And not really,
And
they probably don't realize.
Well, no, they do because they don't want to give it.
Well, if they don't understand how the process works, then maybe they don't. If you're young and you don't know, then there's an education opportunity there. If they're older and they've done this a few times, they're just being obstructionist.
Yeah, but that's, like I said, that important in any service, any financial advising, any insurance advising, even cooking a meal. You got to go through a question process. What do you want?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's like, well, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Okay, I'll make whatever I want, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can click on to the, hey, you know what? We haven't had spaghetti in a while. I'm missing that.
Yeah.
Or someone talking about, hey, I missed having this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to do that relationship stuff.
Well, yeah,
with the people around you,
which creates great customer service.
Yep.
Because creating those relationships creates a better experience for everybody, a better experience for the client, a better experience for the agent, everybody. Because you get that connection, you fill in the gaps, sometimes you make friends.
Well, a good example is one of our old clients walked in the other day and said, "Suzie, your hair's getting long."
Yeah, it's true.
And
I mean, she's seen me multiple times over the years, and she has. And she was looking great because she hadn't been feeling well for the past couple of years, and she was looking great. Her hair was back.
And that's important. It's having that notice of other people, and making those reference points of importance. I know I use time and time again your glasses.
Oh yeah, people love my glasses these days.
And the fact that it's like, no, you purchase those online at a very reasonable rate, because of how the different health. We noticed that the local glass places were an arm and a leg. They weren't working with insurance. So what do? We started to find ways to work around them.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm sorry, we don't do local, but you haven't noticed that your prices are out of line with everything, and you're not working with ways that we can make they'd be that they're affordable.
That would help them make them in line. Exactly.
It's like you don't want business. You're stuck in that little rut you're in.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't. Yeah, you're not wrong. Could just be that. Could also be a case of cherry picking.
It could be, but they're only going to pay for some amounts.
Well, they only want the clients who can either pay cash, or a credit card, or have some sort of Cadillac plan where they get where the purveyor gets a better reimbursement.
Well, I'm not going to name the name of the clinic. We had a new clinic that moved in that only works with a certain type of insurance.
Yes, and that's not an uncommon practice these days.
It's starting to get more and more prevalent, and some of that is you can slough off the lower paying Medicaid and Medicare customers.
That's right.
Just for those expensive plans.
Well, even the lower cost ACA plans.
Well, no, those are other companies.
Well, I know that, but
because you're setting the reimbursement rates.
No, I understand that, but that concierge clinic won't take the people who buy the lower cost plans.
Yeah.
You know?
So that if it allows them to streamline the mono line.
It also, what it does is it gives their patients a sense of specialness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have this. I'm special. I get to use these special doctors who only work with special people.
Yes, and to be fair, some of that is kind of a response to, some of our local providers not providing good service.
They've definitely been having some issues with that. Now, we see that provider service issues are nationwide.
Yes.
Folks who are in their little bubble aren't thinking that the shortage of nurses, the shortage of doctors, the stress and the push and the pull that's been going on locally is true everywhere. That's one thing that's been bugging me so bad lately. I can't get in to see my doctor. It's all their fault. Okay, no. It's no. It's true here. It's also true in Ohio and New York and Florida and New Jersey and California and Kansas. Everyone is pushing out hard right now.
Well, here's one of the things I pointed out to someone, and they did that. Oh my gosh!
I didn't realize.
or they didn't think of it that way. It was the boomers.
Yeah.
They're retiring.
Yes.
And they're retiring in large numbers from these professional fields. And they never bothered to train their replacements.
Or their companies didn't bother to train their replacements. At least what I've been seeing is, okay, right now there's a glut of nurses coming out of our local nursing school.
Okay, yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, we have a local
We have a nurse, so there's always nurses coming out every year. Here's what we're running into is, for some reason, we've got nurses who have been in the industry for 30, 40 years, right? They announce their retirement months in advance, and the company that they work for still doesn't hire someone to replace them until the last minute, if then. Yeah,
it's a failure of management.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way it's always been, though. I mean, like employees are supposed to give 2 weeks notice, right? Isn't the theory behind the 2 weeks notice is to get somebody hired and trained while you're still there? I've never seen that happen. Have you ever seen that happen?
Strangely, it almost happened with me.
Really?
With Treetop.
Really?
Because remember, I put in my 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
The first week we were down because there was no fruit coming in.
Right. It was just a layoff week.
The next week, because you can see the panic in their eyes, because I ran the industrial dryers. It was about 2.5 hours of a 3-hour process.
Right.
So it was a major thing, and they managed to get someone who had done sanitation with, and I could kind of show the basics.
Yeah.
And show some of the concepts. For 1 week.
Oh gosh. And you'd been doing that for what, 4 years?
Something like that.
Yeah. But you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. But I was a big massive nerd. I want to learn everything on that whole line. But yeah, he got in there. Bless his heart, he tried, and I think it was week 3 after I left, they had to fire him because he failed to do a lockout tagout.
Lockout tagouts are really, really critical safety issues.
Yes, and
it's a zero tolerance situation.
And about 4 years earlier, I'd said, hey, you guys really need to focus on cross training, so that you didn't have your people stressed out. And they said, no, we're not going to do it. And so I gave them the warning shot, but they wouldn't listen. And that's part of observation, is sometimes you got to take in information. I had a great encounter with one of the local realtors, yesterday that are, they're doing some amazing stuff in town. And so I said, yeah, by the way, we're bringing on property.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did, oh, really? It's like, yeah, we're doing some different things. And I showed them.
Oh, could you run a couple of
sneak
peeks?
I didn't do the sneak piece of the property quoting, some of the introductory pieces.
Oh, very cool.
Like the flood insurance and the top and some of the
other bits
I could do on the fly.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Ooh, you need to show me when you're fully up," because they've had problems running bots. Because of some of the ham-handedness.
Oh yeah, some of those are really. I mean, well, okay, yeah, bots can be really poorly managed or really well managed.
Oh,
what my favorite kind of bot is? When it announces it's a bot.
Yeah.
I'm your virtual assistant. Oh, great! I'm not trying to actually talk to somebody or to spend 5 minutes trying to figure out if they're real or not. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, but
it also helps me tailor the questions.
Yeah, but there's some really poorly run ones.
Oh gosh, yes.
That just hammer people with repeat requests.
Oh yeah.
And so it's turned off a bunch of their demographics.
Yeah.
However, they're incredibly useful tools, particularly in like booking people.
Mm-hmm. We've had great success with our little bots, but everyone knows their bots though.
Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of automation. Mm-hmm. We have to do it. It's very soft. It's very subtle. Because just the sheer volume we do, it's like, no, this is we got to do a little bit of streamlining to do this and put some thought behind it.
Exactly. Well, we couldn't do what we're doing if we didn't have some automation.
No. And that was one of the things I noticed this time is we're running between 15 and 20 instant messages a day.
Okay, cool.
During enrollment. We didn't have instant message capability 3 years ago.
No, I like instant messages right now. People texting us, it's awesome. Oh, and IMs, all of it.
Yeah, and
we didn't have texting capabilities 2 years either.
Yeah.
And it's just what we're using for tools has completely changed our game.
But yeah, it actually turns a quick question into a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke because there are some folks out there that use hey, I've got a quick question. And in reality, it's like, no, I've got 5 changes to make. I want two different kinds of policies explained, and then I want to go away and think about it.
Yep.
And that is their version of the quick question. Our version of the quick question, hey, you fire off a text message. Hey, how much did my policy change?
That's a quick question.
That's a quick question.
Actually, sometimes it's not an easy answer, though.
It's not an easy answer, but sometimes it's like, hey, this is how much has changed. We should probably sit down and have a bigger conversation.
There's a lot of changes, and I don't think you're going to like them. Let's make an appointment.
Yeah, I did a couple of those this year.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, your policy went from $200 down to $180. Do you want to talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's also your policy literally made one change, and it made 3 changes, and one of them is to your benefit. You really don't have to do anything. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah.
I had one of those this year.
Yeah. But 3 years ago, we couldn't do that. If we had sat on what we were doing 10 years ago, we would never even know that it existed.
No. I got to give you the credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of us found the soup first?
I think you found it first.
Okay. But it was you embraced the option. You embraced the soup, and you looked at the tech. You were observant. You looked outside the bubble. Mm-hmm. You didn't stay in your rut, and you started finding and utilizing tools that we didn't know were out there.
Yeah, and that was like one of the things I did when we went on vacation. Mm-hmm. And I purposefully ordered things that I would normally not eat.
Yes.
Because I wanted a different experience. And I think that's a very simple way to start opening you up to changing stuff.
Menus. Yeah. I can see that.
Not just menus, but hey, open up a recipe book and cook something different. Because everyone's got to eat.
It's true. Now, to be fair, I do have a tendency to get into cooking ruts just because I do. I don't know. I think that's part of. That's just. I don't know if it's a rut. I experiment more on weekends,
Mm-hmm.
and I experiment with baking more than I do with cooking.
Yeah, but
You're a cooking experimenter.
well, and here's the goofy thing. In our house, my son and I have had so many tacos during a week that Susie said no.
It's like enough with the taco.
Enough with the tacos, because we could do that. So yeah, we can go down this wonderful rut forever. But there's a point where I say, okay, I need a change, and it's Indian food, it's Italian food,
It's not a taco.
We're gonna smoke it.
Yeah.
But that is kind of part of introduction of change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now since we're down to about the last 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Suzie pointed out, hey, this wonderful Facebook post, and that was Key Fighting Concepts.
Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't Key Fighting Concepts. It was CrossFit Sports.
Okay, it's at CrossFit Sports,
but they used the Key Facebook page to launch it.
They used the Key Facebook page to launch it,
that means they touched Daddy on it.
Yes. And
unless
no,
Omar had access.
Unless he had access to it. However, they used old pictures.
Oh yes, very much so.
And I was like, the pictures where those were taken hasn't existed in 3 years.
Oh, at least.
And it was like, okay, guys, I love you to death, and it's just like, I don't know what they're thinking.
That they haven't been able to get a picture of themselves lately.
And
well, I know. Okay, here's the thought. By using the old pictures, it made people go, "Oh yeah, I remember them." Whereas a new picture, especially if they've changed quite a bit, people might have got, "Who are those guys again?" Mm-hmm. And that may not have triggered the memory thought.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways you can look at that.
So yeah, it's that observation, and I still haven't decided on how I want to interact with it yet,
or if you want to.
Or if I even want to, because we are doing crazy busy, but I missed that aspect.
Oh, you absolutely. That's why I wanted to point out the minute I saw it. Mm-hmm. And that just went up when I saw it, it had been up for 18 minutes. Mm-hmm. So it was very fresh.
Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. It's one of those nostalgia, and I appreciate Suzie for pointing it out. But it's it really depends on what I want to do and what I want to interact, because there were some key elements.
Yes.
That I miss from Key Fighting, because what I was able to, because I look at things, and that's one of the things I'm looking at. One of the things I missed is I really missed the thought and the spirituality of Sifu Joseph.
Yeah.
And I could only see bits and pieces of it when we did it, because he was kind of on the way out.
Yeah. Well, and he also wasn't sharing with his proteges.
But
he was.
But that was something that I could see in some of the thought processes of what he does in some of the materials.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the path to a belt. Mm-hmm. And that is one of those really weird things, because for martial artists, belts are kind of junky, to be honest. I've hung out with a bunch of different groups, done a bunch of different training with a whole bunch of different people, and there are the formal martial artists. There's some with the belt paths and the Sifus and the Tuhans, and there's a real formal process, and some really revere that.
I'm not sure I understand.
And then on the other side, there are the mixed martial artists, the combinations, the boxers, the ones without a belt.
Mm-hmm. But they're just as skilled.
Yes, and they're both, and that becomes a game of observation, Because I've known some folks that have went out and bought belts.
It's not hard to buy a belt.
And then declared themselves, oh, I'm the 10th Dan of such and such martial arts.
Isn't that like stolen valor, though?
Kind of is, but you can see it in how they conduct themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
And how they carry themselves. And then you can see some really skilled mixed martial artists that are really interested in teaching the next generation. Mm-hmm. Same with the boxing. You can see some. And there are also some that are heavy-handed and are just there for their own self gratification. Because we've walked into gyms before where it's like, oh yeah, the lead trainer, all he's interested in doing is picking up on the girls. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of a buzzkill. It's like, no, I really don't want that. I want, someone that's excited in what they're doing. And I do that level of observation on either one. One of my favorite guys from the Kali Center called it, you want to qualify your teachers.
Okay, I see that.
And the best way to qualify is to observe them.
There you go. And that's a good line to stop on.
So, hey, have a great week. We will be back here next week.
Hopefully.
Well,
see, next Thursday, is that the 15th?
I think that's the 15th.
We might not make it. We'll see.
We will see, because it's the closing of another gateway for us.
Yes.
So, all right. Everyone have a great week.
Thanks for joining us on Suzilla here at Suzie Health Solutions.
Right,
bye.
Bye.